Perfect. Hi, guys. This is George from DoorHacks, and welcome to episode 2 of the online workshop series hosted by NodeReal and DoorHacks. Today's episode is called From Day One with Aptos, and we are joined by Ankush Sharma, Solutions Architect at NodeReal, who will help us explore and understand the Aptos ecosystem and NodeReal's fantastic node infrastructure and the synergy with the Aptos ecosystem. Aptos, as you may know, is a layer one blockchain which was built with the vision of delivering the fastest and most production ready blockchain in the world. This workshop will walk you through the amazing features and ecosystem that Aptos has to offer for you and the community. We're very fortunate to be partners with NodeReal and host events like these for our communities. For anyone in the YouTube or Binance Live chat rooms, feel free to ask questions as we go, and I'll ask these to Ankush later on. So without further ado, let's welcome Ankush. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, George, and thanks for the introduction. And thanks to our hack for giving this opportunity to connect with the community. I'll begin with sharing my slides so that we can have an introduction about everything. Yep, we should be good here. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Ankush, as just Josh mentioned. I'm a solutions architect at NodeReal. We design new use cases and applications for blockchain. As a NodeReal, we are the company who helps to set up your infrastructure services so that you can actually concentrate upon creating new and better application instead of worrying about your blockchain infrastructure. Um, so today we're going to talk about the Aptos. As Josh just mentioned, it's a new blockchain. It's a layer one blockchain, and it just got launched this month. And we have been contributing to the development or the adoption of the blockchain by providing a node services. We have been involved from the very early stages of the Aptos, they were creating the test nets and dev nets. I'll first begin with the agenda of the presentation. So in the today's agenda, we will discuss what exactly is the Aptos, what does it mean for you as a developer, how the Aptos ecosystem looks like right now, and we see that there is a huge potential of it increasing pretty soon. We'll talk about the Move language. What is Move language? What are the advantages of Move language, which is actually a pivotal concept for Aptos language, Aptos blockchain. Then we talk about the Aptos transaction flow, which talks about the parallel transaction, which increases the high throughput. And then we'll talk about what's the meaning of Aptos for NodeReal. We'll show you the performance numbers, what exactly we bring onto the table if you use the node services from Aptos. And then we'll try to go through a quick demo where we talk about how to run a simple move module and try to run it and see how the transaction would look like on a blockchain. So to begin with, Aptos is a newly founded blockchain, which is developed by Averaging and Mosaic, who actually worked as a developer for or the project managers for Deem's Novi wallet. Deem was developed by Meta, which was formerly known as Facebook. So you can understand the kind of foundation it has. But I think in 2020, it actually got ramped down and the project failed. But people like Everything and Moshe came up and they tried to come up with a blockchain called Aptos. They tried to make it much better version of that. There are other projects which are also working on similar kind of Deem blockchain called Soy. But today we're going to talk about Aptos only. It has already raised $350 million in funding, and there are very huge top venture capitalists which are involved in it, including Binance Labs. So the primary function, the primary concept that it brings with the Deem is called Move programming language. It's a Rust-based language, very opposite to the Solidity, which is very usually known by the blockchain developers. The other part is the Deem BFT v4, which is the consensus protocol used for this blockchain. The Dean BFTP4 was designed to ensure continuity, network continuity, and experience no downtime undergoing upgrades. So, in the earlier 2 years of the Dean blockchain, they really upgraded their networks, their consensus mechanism without a zero downtime. So, this shows that this protocol, this really allows them to be resilient, and even if the resilient and fault tolerant of up to one third of the malicious validated node before the network has been compromised. It also has a state synchronization, which allows validators that might have even crashed or fallen to catch up quickly. This ensures that whenever a node is failing or everything is going down, at that moment it can actually quickly come back up. And this protocol separate liveliness from safety, whereby the network will not fork as long as the Aptos BFT integrity is guaranteed. The other best part about this blockchain is the safe user experience. They ensure the safe user experience for a blockchain, which is a very important aspect in the blockchain industry right now. So they bring with a few factors, namely transaction availability protection. So in transaction availability protection, talking about that, they introduce three variables called sequence number, transaction expiration time, and design chain identifier. So using these variables, this ensures that there is a no man in the middle attack. I will talk about it, how these variables look like when we actually go through a demo, so that you have a better understanding how Aptos is protecting your transactions and your applications. The other part is the move-based key management. Key has always been a prime challenge for every blockchain because it can lead up to a long-range attack and key compromises, even bigger challenges. For that, it has introduced a key rotation system, which ensures that your key is not accessible to an attack, even for the future where you will have a quantum computational power to break the cryptographic algorithms. There is a high probability that this key rotation would definitely help you to avoid those attacks. There is another feature for key management is the key rotation delegation. So, which means that you can delegate your key rotation access to another user. The idea behind that is the 20% of the block of Bitcoin is actually in the logged out accounts, which means nobody can access them, which is a very huge amount of capital stored and without it, nobody has access to. But here you can actually delegate the access to another user. So for example, you don't even have the access to it. The other user can actually help you to rotate your key and change the key. The other part is the pre-signing transaction transparency, which means that even before the transaction happens, Aptos bring pre-execution steps that are used as a precautionary measures that describe the user that what exactly is happening in your transaction. For a user, a normal user, a transaction doesn't make much of a difference just from one point to another. But over here, for a normal human user, it actually allows you to translate that into a human form and understand what exactly is going on during the transaction. So with that, so that this will actually help a lot for a normal user. Then the fourth part is the Lightline protocol. There is a new key which has been added. So there is a special protocol. Over here, the client means your wallet, and there is a particular protocol which has been used to connect your client with your with your blockchain. This is done because every blockchain, every wallet actually has to create their own key management system. They because every blockchain is different and they have to create their own. But the normal user doesn't have a purview of understanding how the key management has been happening. They don't understand. So that part has been taken back from the blockchain, from the wallets, and blockchain takes care of the key management stuff and ensures that it protects it from the double spending attack and even deceiving transactions. That's about the safe user experience. We'll understand how the transaction works, what's the advantage of the high transaction throughput in a blockchain. So that actually happens through parallel transaction processing. the parallel transaction processing is essential for faster transaction. But on the other hand, if you see EVM can only process transactions sequentially, which means that becomes a bottleneck for number of transactions that can happen. These also issues also reflect in the layer 2 on Ethereum, which is part of the reason the mainnet cannot scale without sharding. And then sharding comes up with its own challenges. However, Solana, which is another competitor in the market, is a parallel processing blockchain. But the problem is with their downtime with the network. And Aptos, over the period of time, has shown with the team that it doesn't have that. It is resilient and it provides that offering where it doesn't go down much easily. In Aptos, with all the constraints, it still shows you the number of transactions till 160K transaction per second, which is a pretty high number as compared to others. We'll talk further in comparing the transaction per second parameter. It does by using a block STM parallel execution engine, where Aptos aims to ensure lower transaction fees. This ensures that the transactions are happening simultaneously and getting validated after. So, which means that the whole process of the transaction has been distributed into different parts, and each transaction is done in a certain way that it can happen parallelly. Then there is another part of sharding. It is right now working on a single shard, but in future, if needed, there is a high probability that it can be turned into it can use with sharding with their sharding protocol, and that seems like a pretty workable also for the team. So this shows that it's a resilient solution and can actually be used in future. I'll talk more about the transaction now. So this is how a usual transaction flow looks like. So if you see over here, the transaction is basically begins with the transaction dissemination process, which shows that which allows you to separate the transaction from execution from the execution and the consensus mechanism. And it over here, if you see at the transaction dissemination process, transactions are grouped into batches by each validator during the transaction dissemination, and batches are combined into block during the consensus. Batching allows for the user to have a fee efficient market and prioritize transaction, avoid DDoS attacks. In Aptos, transaction dissemination is decoupled from consensus, which allows the validators to continuously stream batches of transaction to each other, utilizing all the network resources available. So this ensures that your network is continuously in use and the batches of the transaction are being transferred to each validator at the same time. There is a high probability if you just keep on putting up that much traffic on the network, there is a high probability that it might have DOS attack, but by running out of the storage and the crash. To prevent that, Aptos introduce a concept of the batch of timestamp, which allows them to efficiently garbage collect at each validator. So the primary challenge with blockchains is usually being the consensus part, because it's a very time-taking process, a sequential process. It takes a while to, so for example, for blockchains like Ethereum, it takes a lot of time to get things done. Therefore, the other layer 2 blockchains were introduced to take the essential of the Ethereum blockchain, but still try to avoid using zero knowledge proof and other ways to stop this threshold problem. But on this part, they separate the whole transaction and put the consensus part in the block metadata ordering part, where they use DMBFT v4 protocol for the consensus and allow it to make a consensus at each full node or validator or a client easily. Then in the parallel transaction execution, this ensure that once we have the consensus made, it actually made the parallel transaction to each validator and the transaction has been executed. Then that execution gets stored and certified and sent to the other validators also. So this was about the transaction. And give me a sec. So I was talking about the key features of the Aptos, the performance and how it works over here. So if you see the numbers, Solana is one of the parallel transaction blockchain. The number is pretty high, as we discussed. The challenges with their network efficiency, and Aptos has proven that it is a reliable and resilient blockchain network. We'll come to know about more when it actually comes in the mainnet in next few weeks and months. On the other hand, if you see for the transaction to finality time with BSC and Ethereum, it's more than 75 seconds. And for Aptos, it's less than a second even, which shows the time it takes to do a transaction. And the maximum transaction per second is 160K. We'll also review the performance testing that we have done ourselves on our node and shows how this works in real life. To give you an overview about this newly launched blockchain, just to give you an heads up, the blockchain has been launched just today, this month. So despite that, we have a huge ecosystem available, especially at the tools and infrastructure level, where it talks about how it actually shows that we have a full services available and the industry leaders available who are actually invested in it. You can see the wallets. Every wallet has to be created newly because of the new protocol and everything. There is a huge network NFT marketplace that is available, and the DeFi. So the idea of showing this ecosystem was to show that there is a growing ecosystem available, and we always encourage being the contributor to the community for the projects and for everything. And we see there is a huge scope over here for Aptos to develop as a prime blockchain in future. So for meganode services, I'll just talk about now our blockchain. Okay, our NodeReal, a NodeReal. So basically, we offer three products or multiple products into it, but our primary product is a meganode, which is basically creating node services for the different blockchains. We currently support three L1 blockchains: Merge, Aptos, and BNB. And we have a new feature added, which is Web3 API Marketplace. So this is basically where you as a developer can monetize your own API created for the blockchain and put it in the marketplace, and any user can actually use that and have access to the data they would like to, and create a new use cases and applications on top of it. Then we have Samita, which is a custom blockchain as a service, where based on BSC, you can use this to, rather than creating a new network node and everything by yourself, you can use this service and actually deploy your application. Then we have a direct route, which is a proxy services for your transactions. Now I'll show you how a transaction would work, how you can actually access the meganode services. So to do that, you would need one of these accounts. I'll use my GitHub account. So this is how a normal dashboard would look like. So what we'll do is we'll try to create a new app. And over here, you can choose whichever chain you would like to use. We have other options for L2 chain as Optimism and Polygon and Beacon chain. But for this case, we'll be creating for mainnet. You have to just put your app name. Dora Hacks. Created. Your app has been created. So you can see over here, you have different apps that you can work through. And this is how your API endpoint would look like. You can use this and put it in your wallet, put it in your application code, wherever you want to put it, and you can actually use this to connect with your blockchain. You can do similar thing with your another kind of blockchains, but today we're going to talk about only Aptos. So talking about the Aptos and NodeReal, we have nodes all across the globe. We have in US, Europe, and APAC region. And this will actually give you a very low latency and ensure that your application get the high performance. We have tested our solutions. Our solutions are for the industry standards and made sure that they're resilient and they are very available every time. So this ensures very high quality product for you rather than you getting into and trying to create it by yourself. You can create it, use our services. For Aptos, we have been involved from a very early stage. We are going from testnet 1, 2, 3, devnets, and now we are at the mainnet. We are available on testnet, mainnet, and devnet, all three of them. And we have been the top 10 validator of this node of AIT. And now we'll talk about the performance of the Aptos on NodeReal. So we have done our analysis using multiple concurrency tests. And if you see over here, the latency test, it shows that if you try to do latency tests for 100 blockchain, 100 concurrency events, the delay time is around 1500 milliseconds. And for us, it's around 400, which is very less in comparison with it. This shows the kind of performance we offer at a NodeReal. It's pretty high. And same goes for query per second. Even for the public node, it's for 300 for 300 events, it actually should be almost only 100. But with our services, you can go to 500 to 600, so which is a pretty high number so far. And we are always improving our services, ensuring that we get higher performance for each node and each services. So this shows the more you concurrency you take care of, you get very less latency and high query per second. This is a new addition to our family, which is TraceMove. This is a blockchain explorer, especially for Aptos. It's a mobile friendly, it can be used from anywhere, from any device, and it actually allows you to have a very huge or better view of understanding of your blockchain transactions. We'll see how it works in our demo, and this will really help you to develop your applications and verify the transactions and everything over there only. Now we'll move to the move language. So move language is the essential part of the Aptos development, which actually came with the Dean. And it actually came with the Dean. So the move language is based on Rust, so which is totally different from the how Solidity has been developed. So it takes away the main challenges from what actually you were facing while developing through Solidity. It is a highly customizable, so this allows you to create a module and put a function in it in the form of a function, and you can add values to it or put up an endpoint so that you can add value or remove value to update the values of a module or a resource. On the other hand, Solidity is less dynamic, as it still stores the asset in the hash maps that are permanently locked in a contract. And on the other hand, this really allows you to change and update it freely. The other thing that it offers is the referenceable transparency for immutable references, which is Solidity is immutable without native access control, making it relatively difficult to resolve bugs and vulnerabilities once a small contract has been deployed. But on the other hand, this gives you a move prover, which allows the developer to quickly verify and test the code before the execution. This also offers you the memory safety and by preventing dangling references and memory leaks. The other part of the move module is the important part is the resources and the modules. A move module contains move bytecode that declares the data type and the procedures. Each module is identified by the address of the account where the module is declared, along with the module name. So a module grouped into packages located at the same address. An owner of this address publishes the block packages as a whole chain on the chain, or on whole chain. The package metadata determines whether a package can be upgraded or is mutable. So you can mention it beforehand that if it can be upgradable. So we'll see how a package can be upgradable in our example, so you'll understand how it works. For an upgradable package compatibility checks are performed before the upgrade is permitted. No existing entry point function must be changed, and no resource can be stored in the memory. However, new functions can definitely be added once you have actually applied the contract. The other part is the resource. Resources is a way to add data value onto the blockchain. However, all data values can't be stored on chain. which means that it has to be in a certain format like key value format, data type, and then you can use it. It allows you to securely store the information like tokens, smart contracts through its native data types. And resources have high status in moves code architecture, which prevents it from being copied or accidentally destroyed. But this move capability really allows you to reuse your code and repurpose your code in the same contract. We'll talk about that also in the demo. Now moving on to the demo, I'll try to share my screen again. Just give me a second. I think we just have 5 minutes left. I'll quickly share my screen. Okay, so I hope you guys can see my screen. This is a contract that we have already found. So we'll first initialize the CLI with the network and the account. We'll use the DevNet for now. You can actually use over here our NodeReal endpoint and connect it using that, but I'll just quickly go through it looking at the limitation of the time. At this stage, you can add your faucet and your account. If you already have your account that you want to use, you can put your private key here and it will work. But for this time, we'll just create a new one. So what you can do is, okay. Now at this stage, we will fund the account. Now you can see that this account has been added with the fund. What we'll do is we'll go take this up and we'll put it in the trace move and we see how this account looks like. You can see I've already used this account before and it has a balance of this much in the account. I'll go back to the transaction and see how it works. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this hello blockchain function. I won't have time to show how this looked like, but I'll definitely try to run it first, and then I get a chance, then we'll show you. So at this stage, it compiled and it saw that there is an address which can be associated with the message module, and it has been it works. We'll try to test it now. It checks using the mover, prover. It checks that all dependencies are there, and it is associating this account with this message and this function over here. So this says both tests worked. Now we'll try to publish it. So it shows that this is the sender who has sent the transaction. We'll go back to the Aptos and we see it's the same count, and you can see the sequence number has increased and the transaction has been performed just 12 seconds ago. And this is the transaction, how it looks like. It says it succeeded. It talks about it talks about what the gas fee was, what the gas unit was, what are the hashes that have been used, what are the changes that have been done. You can see over here that it has used name message and it has sent a message using an address. So clearly talks about how your transaction has happened in each index. And this clearly explains about your code also, how it looks like, how it performs, and it takes care of everything. So you can use this as your tool to explore and understand your transaction in blockchain better. We'll go back to this, and this time we'll try to add another string, which is hello blockchain, using the set message function, and try to see if we can append the information in the blockchain. successful. The transaction was successful. We'll again see what happened at the node, and you can see the sequence number has increased again, and another transaction took place in 9 seconds. We'll see the transaction again, and we'll see how these things worked out. So you can see in the events, it has changed from hello blockchain to hello blockchain. So it has just changed the values. That's it. Yeah, I think I've already taken up the time to explain about everything. Thanks, George. Is there any question for me?
No, thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time and presenting that to us. It was fantastic. I mean, a question that I had was, I mean, you showed early on the whole Aptos ecosystem and all of the different applications and wallets, etc., that are built on top of the Aptos ecosystem. I mean, a question that I had was, I mean, from your viewpoint, where do you think there's room for, you know, a new application or something to come into the Aptos ecosystem which hasn't yet already been, like, isn't already there?
Definitely, there is always, especially in the DeFi and the other areas, we definitely see there is a huge scope, and we always promote developers and teams to come up with their project, and we can help them in getting their project done. So because we provide them infrastructure, we have developers, we have a team of 200 developers who can actually support them to get their project in real shape.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
there's a huge potential over there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you see actually like there's a particular, you know, category or something that you think is missing within the Aptos ecosystem? Like somewhere where you think there's room for, you know, for people to develop a potential project that would be fantastic in the Aptos ecosystem?
Definitely, it's just the beginning. So I just said blockchain just launched this month. I think there is a huge scope in every area. I won't be able to pick up one because everything is pretty exciting over here right now. Things are coming up every day. A new project is launched every day. So I can see there's a huge potential coming up in next few days, and this ecosystem will increase by exponentially in next few months for sure.
Yeah. Do you see? I mean, obviously, as we know, that the market is almost like a bit of a bearish cycle at the moment. I mean, when we see that turn around, do you think Aptos is going to be a leader, like some of the other big ecosystems?
I see a high potential for sure, because the kind of transaction per second I have tested by myself, so I can see that I haven't seen this high throughput before. And with the stability that it shows, it has a high probability, because in the last few weeks and months, we have seen issues going on with bigger blockchains. And I see this can actually be a very good alternative with a new solution coming up and new use cases to come up in next few weeks and months.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Fantastic. Well, we do actually have we're planning to do an Aptos hackathon early or later this year. So that'll be fantastic for new projects to come on board and start building on that ecosystem. So that's fantastic. So thank you.
We'll be there too. I think we'll also be there at that hackathon for sure.
Yeah.
And for the audience, if anybody wants to reach out to us, they can reach out to us on our NodeReal Discord channel or Telegram group. Wherever they want to reach out to us, they can reach out to any of our team, and we'll definitely support them for any of their use cases or help.
Absolutely, fantastic. All right, well, thank you. Thanks, Ankush, for your time today. I really do appreciate it, and you've given us some fantastic insight into the Aptos ecosystem and how it works together with NodeReal. And of course, as you mentioned, if anyone is developing and looking to build on the Aptos ecosystem, feel free to reach out to myself at DoraHacks or anyone at the DoraHacks team, and also anyone at the NodeReal team, because I would be more than happy to help. So yeah, thanks again for your time and efforts and for bringing us such a fantastic workshop today. We do have a series of workshops like today coming up in the next few weeks. So please, for everyone in the audience, please stay tuned. And if you are interested, please connect with us on all of our social media platforms. So Twitter, Telegram, Discord, you can see all of the QR codes here. And also follow us on YouTube and Binance Lives to make sure that, of course, you don't miss any of these upcoming sessions that we're going to host for you. So thanks again today for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again in the near future. And thanks again to you, Ankush. Thank you very much.
Thanks, George, for this opportunity. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.